All right, students, you are ready, and we are going to begin a new project, and this project is our pillow project. And our pillow project is one that's personal to you, and so I want you to be thinking of ideas of things that reflect you, things that you like. I always encourage students to come up with original ideas, putting elements of print and shapes and maybe some things that you like in this project of yourself. And so think about your favorite sports, your favorite colors, your favorite words, or even your own name. For example, here I've begun to come up with, in my sketchbook, some ideas, and then you will pencil out your ideas onto the larger paper. So there's a page in your sketchbook, page 10, to brainstorm some ideas. Once you've come up with a couple of ideas, then I want you to come over and get this manila paper and draw out your design how you would like it, okay? You're gonna draw it out in pencil first, and then once you've got the pencil design laid out how you would like it, and you're welcome to use shapes that I have, and you're welcome to use letter stencils if you'd like, or just draw your own. It's fine with me, however you'd like it to be. Consider things like your favorite sports and favorite hobbies. You know, you can put your name here. This is going to be a pillow for your use. So this is your first step. This paper is the size of the pillow that it's going to be. And once you've drawn out your design with pencil first, then I want you to Sharpie it. Okay, trace out your outline in Sharpie. The purpose of the Sharpie is so that we can see it when we trace it onto the fabric. All right, then you're going to put your fabric over it, and you're going to, in pencil, trace onto the fabric your design. So here I've already begun to pencil out my design. Now, if you've noticed here, the paper and the fabric are different sizes, and that is by design. The fabric is a little bit larger than the piece of paper, so that you don't go over onto the edges. This whole border here on the edge will be sewn into the pillow, and so we don't really need to go completely to the edge. You can if you want. But for the most part, your design will be where you have your paper. All right, so now here I've begun to pencil out my design, and I've got it penciled out all onto my fabric, and then I'm going to come over and get a board. We'll keep our pillows on a board like this one, because it's really hard to put it on the drying rack when it is flimsy fabric. So I've got this, and I've got this on the board, and I'm going to begin to get some paint. Now, this is the trick with the acrylic paint. It is very important. You really don't need a huge quantity. Get a small tray like this one. Put a little dab will do ya. We only have a 45-minute class period, so you don't need every color in the rainbow in your tray. Just get the first 1 or 2 colors that you may be needing in a small quantity, and you can utilize that amount. If you have a little left over, you can either wrap this with saran wrap or just rinse it out and get some more next time. But be somewhat conservative with the acrylic paint, as it is important that it doesn't go to waste. Now, if you do decide if you don't see a color that you want over there and you want to mix up maybe a little bit different color, mix up a larger, and you're going to mix up a larger quantity because you're covering maybe a larger space, feel free to utilize one of the baby food containers that I have here. Mix up your paint, put the lid on it when you're all done. That way it'll be available for next time for any touch-ups that you may need, or if you need to do any more painting next time, you didn't get it all done, it's in this container. It's available for you for the next time, or if you're not using it anymore, somebody else can use this nice color too, and that way we don't also waste paint. All right, so make sure also you're always cleaning out your brushes. Now, acrylic paint is a permanent paint, so be careful not to get it on your clothes. I have aprons, so if you need to use an apron, I would advise it, because it doesn't come out easily in clothes. If it's a fresh amount of paint on your clothes, you can get it out while it's still wet. Now, I'm using a brush that kind of has a square tip, and an angle to it, and it makes it easier to do things like lettering and angles. There are some brushes that are soft and wobbly, and those are actually a little harder to paint fabric with. So find one that's a little bit stiffer over there. Square, many of my long-handled brushes are squared off like this one, and you can begin to paint in. It is a little bit different to paint on fabric than other types of materials. So just take your time, fill it in, and work it out that way. I do recommend a small brush for small areas, a large brush for other areas. Once I get into some of these smaller details, I'm going to need to use a small brush. Sometimes you can go over it a second time to kind of clean up your edges and to maybe give it a better coat. Once you're done painting, I do encourage you to paint the whole thing, make it real bright and colorful, and this will go on the drying rack from each class period, okay? They may be taken off the drying rack briefly after they're dry and put in a stack and available for you the next time. All right, once we get going with that and we got it all painted and we've ready to move on to the next step, we're going to actually sew this pillow. All right, this is how we're going to sew this pillow. You're going to get your design, and this is your design side. This is the inside, and we're actually going to sew it so that the two pieces are on the inside, and we will be turning it inside out. All right, so here is this part. I'm going to set this piece on this piece, match the edges up together, and my design is going to be on the inside. You're going to get a needle, and you're going to get some string. Okay, this is kind of a little heavier than thread. It's more of a string. All right, so you are going to get a nice size. I would say nose to the end of your fingertip size. If you go super long, it's going to get tangled a little easier than others. All right, you got a string, you got a needle, and these are kind of a heftier needle because we're going through thick fabric that has paint on it, okay? So now you're going to thread your needle, and as I've talked about with other classes, basically to thread the needle, I would kind of make sure that tip is not frayed at all, and basically get a small tip and put it through, push it, and pull it through the needle. Oh, easier said than done, Mrs. D. All right, push and pull it through the needle. Now, you don't need to tie it at this end. I find it a lot of times students at this end will tie it here. But the only problem with tying it here is it's difficult to pull it through the fabric. You want a knot at the end, okay? And just leave kind of a tail so that it doesn't come undone on the string there. All right, now you are going to take this needle, and I'm going to demonstrate how to make a knot at this needle. You can do it a traditional way of overhand knot, but this is how my mother taught me how to tie a knot in a needle, and I use it pretty regularly. All right, I'm going to take the needle, and I'm going to wrap it around my finger like this, and then I'm going to just roll it off my finger, and there I have a knot. It's not a very big one this time, so I'm going to do it again. Roll it off my finger, roll around my finger, off my finger, and there I have my knot. I'm going to just show you one more time as a demo. So I'm going to stick this around my finger, and then I'm going to roll it off my finger and pull, and I've got a small knot there, okay? So, and if it seems too small, you can do that twice, and there's your knot, okay? All right. Now, I am going to start sewing this pillow. All right, and I'm going to sew right here. I'm going to start here towards the bottom. My design is here, so I want to start towards the middle. I would start in the middle of the door, middle part of this pillow towards the bottom. It is oftentimes students want to start in the corner, but we are actually going to turn this around and stitch it up, and it's easier to have a small opening here towards the bottom. And I would say the opening that you want in the bottom should be about the size of your hand. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go in and out with my needle and thread, and I'm going to keep the stitches small and close together. In fact, I'm going to just zoom in just a little bit here. So I want you to, along the edge, don't get too close to the edge, but I want you to keep your stitches small and close together. There is a reason for this. You do not want the stuffing to come out. So stitch along the edge like so. Now, I didn't address that in some cases the fabrics might not be exactly the same size, but if they're close, just keep them the way they are. Now, I did get an awfully close to this edge here, and so try not to get too close to the edge. Stay in about a 1/2 inch and just turn that corner and stitch away. And you are going to basically stitch all the way around the pillow. Keep those stitches small. Now there's a couple things you got to look at too. You can go this way. Some students do this. I did one kind of quick sweep there, and you can go back and forth like this. Now, there is a problem. Let's say you make a mistake. Let's say you do something like this. This is called a whip stitch that goes around this edge like this. That is not really ideal for this project, this kind of stitch. That's a good stitch, but it's not ideal. Now, if you end up doing that, all you have to do is undo your string and take it out again. All right. Now we're going to work our way quickly around this pillow. This particular string is not going to make it all the way around the pillow. And that's okay, because we will just knot it off and start with a fresh string. Okay. So making your way around. All right, I'm going to actually pause this and pick it up after we've gone a little further. All right, well, I've gotten to that point where I'm at the end of my string here, and oh no, Mrs. Davidson, I don't have enough string to go all the way around. That is going to be the case. You're going to need at least 2 strings. Now, this is a good way to knot off the end of a string like this. Now, you have, you can create kind of a knot with a circle here, but it's sometimes hard to get close to the fabric. So this is what I do. I go under the stitch that I just finished off, and I go through the loop that's created, and I do that twice. Go through the stitch, there's a loop that's created, and I stick my needle through that. And I do that twice, and that creates a little knot there. All right. Now, and I can trim away the extra. Now remember, all these stitches are gonna go in the inside, and you're not going to see them. So these frayed edges, if you've got some kind of rough edges on the edges, though you will not see those. And that's also why we didn't paint all the way to the edges or create our image all the way to the edge, because some of it will be sewn into the inside. All right, so now I've rethreaded a new thread, and I'm going to put a knot in it like we showed you before. Nice knot there. And I'm just going to start where I left off. And I'm going to sew. Now here's how also some students don't know what to do when they hit a corner, but you're just going to do like you would before. You're just going to turn that corner, okay? And just keep going around the edge. And proceed like so. Small stitches, keep them small. If you have very large 1-inch wide stitches, I will be making you take it out, and it's only for your own good. You really will be disappointed when you turn it inside out and you see all of the stuffing oozing out of the sides. All right, so keep them close together. It wouldn't even hurt if I went even a little smaller than what I'm doing right now. All right, now you are going to make your way all the way around this pillow, leaving a space, stopping right about there. If I got a minute here. We will be stuffing this. All right, I've done it. I've gone all the way around my edge, and now I'm reached a stopping point, and I have an opening here so that I can turn it inside out. Remember, I'm going to knot off my string, put it through that loop, put it under that stitch. It creates a loop, and create that knot. So you've got a knot here now. Make sure it's a secure knot because we're going to put a little stress on it when we turn it inside out. Now make sure you don't go too big. You don't want a huge opening here because we are going to still have to sew it up. So it is nice to have just a small opening on the outside towards the bottom that we're going to sew up. Now I've got this little opening. Now these are a little stiffer than the one I've got here. They do sometimes take a little bit of work to turn inside out because they are a little stiff with paint. But just work with it a little bit, gently just kind of move it around, stick your hands in the corners, push out the corners, and open up your nice little pillow here. There we go. Now I'm going to have some stuffing handy in some boxes, and it always is good to kind of break up the stuffing just a little bit and stick it in the hole that's there. And just stuff it full. Now, I do not want you to stuff it to the point where it's just barely, stuffed to the breaking point. You do want it to be a soft pillow that you can lay your nice head on. But fill it as much as you would like, just not to the point of it's going to burst, all right? That's not as comfortable anyway, and it's a little difficult to sew up. Now, once you've filled that full, this nice little design here, and you've got it corners pushed out, stuffed full of stuffing, add your last bit of stuffing to it. You're going to, again, get a needle and thread, adding that knot to the end, and putting the knot to the inside. And I'm going to sew up the remainder of this. Now we're going to do kind of a whip stitch on the outside, and that basically is like this. I've got my needle and thread, I've put the needle through the inside so the knot is on the inside, and I'm just going to give it some little short stitches back to front along the edge here, and that's going to close up that opening. Kind of pull those two layers together, fold them over so that the edge, the rough edge, is on the inside, and you're going to just basically just stitch along like so. There we go. Now we've got that all stitched up. Close it all up so that stuffing doesn't come out, and again, just give yourself, put your needle through a stitch and go through that little loop, and you've got a little knot there. Trim it kind of close to the knot, but not all the way to the knot so it doesn't come undone, and snip, and there you have your pillow. It'll be done, it'll be nicely painted, the color that you want, and ready to go, ready to grade. Mrs. Davidson will grade them first. Now at the end of class, I always want you to put these needles back because the other class is going to need them as well. Extra string can get thrown out, and other supplies put away. But once this is done, turn it in to Mrs. D, and we will put it in the grade book and maybe on display, and then don't beg me too many times, and then I'll let you take them home. All right, this is the end of this pillow making video. Have a good one.